Let's take a moment to think about how our feedback grows student understanding strategically. So, when we think about our feedback, we want equitable feedback. And this includes thinking about the quality as well as the quantity of the feedback. So, in terms of quality, we want our feedback to provide information and possible actions to students. Quality feedback serves three purposes: recognizes the student perspective, the effort that students brought to the task is recognized and valued through the initial teacher feedback. Then the teacher deepens content knowledge, ensuring that student responses are accurate and that all students feel challenged. Then the teacher is going to push thinking. Students are prompted to reflect on their learning, their metacognition or strategies and transfer. And that pushing for thinking can occur following recognizing the student perspective as well. We want lots of pushes for thinking because learning is a consequence of thinking. So when we think of quantity, we actually are not looking for equal quantities of feedback. We're looking for equitable feedback, and that ensures the frequencies and duration is the number of the types of the different types of feedback, and how much time teachers spend interacting with individual students should be proportional to the amount of growth a student needs to move beyond mastering the learning goal. We also want to make sure that all students receive all three types of feedback for every given task. They don't always have to be receiving that feedback from the teacher. The feedback could come from peers, could come from an individual reflection, could come from an expert or a volunteer being in the classroom. But we want to make sure that all three types of feedback occur for every task. So when you think about the upcoming simulation, you want to really decrease low information level feedback, such as compliments, suggestions to try again, or just acknowledging an answer as correct. And you want to really increase much higher level types of feedback, clarifying and valuing the student perspective, offering concerns and suggestions to deepen that content knowledge, make sure that the students feel challenged and their answers are accurate, and then finally, pushing for those apples so that every student takes away an apple of learning, metacognition, generalization, and transfer. So each of these different types of feedback could be given a number for a different level of feedback. So we want to reduce those 100 levels and increase all of the feedback that's on that tree, 200 through 500. And if we think of our feedback in this way, we can make a graph of the different types of feedback and the duration of the simulation with each type of feedback and when it occurred in terms of the time into the simulation. So you can see here, the teacher began with low-level information feedback for almost the first 2 full minutes out of a 7-minute simulation. And then we see the teacher using that feedback tree, going up the tree, not getting all the way up to thinking, but going up the tree 1, 2, 3 times, probably working with 3 different students, and that 4th student probably got stopped right there at the end. So this helps us visualize equitable academic feedback, where we can really look by student and look at the duration, the frequency of the different types of feedback, and time. How much, as the little mini lesson occurs when you pull this group, how the feedback trajectory unfolds over time. So I want you to begin to think about what your feedback trajectory might look like. There aren't good and bad feedback trajectories, but rather they're purposeful. So in this case, we see a teacher really focusing right there on the 200 and 300 level feedback. So the teacher's spending the whole 6 minutes really focusing on clarifying and valuing student perspectives. Maybe this was because that was the purpose of a small group. And then when we get in a large group, we're going to see the teacher push for and deepen that content knowledge. It's not important what the trajectory looks like exactly, but what is important is that the trajectory matches your teaching purpose. So the teaching purpose, if it is only to clarify and value, then this would be great. But if the teacher was thinking that they were pushing thinking and leading to learning, this would not be, then that would not match the purpose. Here's another example of a trajectory. And now here we see the teacher giving a ladder of feedback one at a time to each student, really moving from student to student and even getting a second round with the students. Here we see the differences between simulation 1 and simulation 2. You'll be doing the simulation twice, and you can really have two different approaches or two different strategies. In the first simulation, the teacher's working one student at a time around the table. In the second, the teacher is working one level of feedback for all the students and moving the students through the ladder of feedback. So you can really think about what is your feedback trajectory going to look like. In the next task, you'll draw your feedback trajectory and maybe write an explanation of why, given the students' initial responses, you're going to choose this strategic approach to giving feedback. I look forward to seeing your feedback trajectories.